Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dig into a word you use every single day, a word so basic, so fundamental, you've probably never really stopped to question it. We are going to peel back the layers on the word need, and in the process, uncover a kind of hidden architecture of control that's quietly shaping almost everything. All right, let's just jump right in with this statement. I know it sounds pretty extreme, but stick with me. This isn't just about playing with words. This idea, it's like a master key. Once you really get the difference between a need and a desire, you start to see the blueprint of a system that's been built all around us, one that's designed to manage our behavior, often without us having a clue. So, what is this system? Well, it's not some secret society meeting in a dark room. It's more like an architecture of control that's just evolved over thousands of years. And it's built on three main pillars, three core ideas that work together to keep everything in line and, maybe more importantly, to keep us from thinking too far outside the box. And here they are: hierarchy, shame, and scarcity. You can think of them like this. Hierarchy is the external structure, right? The pyramid. Shame is the governor they install inside your own head. And scarcity, that's the physical lock on the cage door. On their own, they're powerful ways to control people. But when you put them together, they create this self-replicating, parasitic system that has really defined civilization as we know it. Let's start with the first pillar, hierarchy. This is the oldest trick in the book. It really got its start back in ancient Mesopotamia. See, some clever rulers had a brilliant idea. Instead of just taking people's crops by force, which gets messy, they built huge temples and said, hey, a god owns all this land. We're just managing it for him. And suddenly, resisting wasn't just rebellion, it was blasphemy. Just like that, they created an abstract authority that legitimized taking the fruits of everyone's labor, and it put a permanent management class right between you and your own survival. So that brings us to the really insidious part, how this system gets us to police ourselves. That's the second pillar, shame. This is the internal control. You know that feeling when you see something that's just wrong? That righteous anger you feel against injustice? Well, shame's job is to hijack that energy and turn it inward. It tells you the problem isn't the system. The problem is you. You're not smart enough, not working hard enough, you're just defective. It starts in the family, gets reinforced everywhere else, and pretty soon, you've become your own jailer. And finally, the third pillar, scarcity. This is the physical trap, the lock on the cage. Let's say you manage to shake off the shame and you start questioning the hierarchy. Well, you still gotta eat, right? This pillar works by creating this constant, artificial fear of not having enough. Money is the perfect tool for this. It's presented as this rare, limited thing you have to fight over, when really it's created out of thin air to serve the people at the top. The system then uses debt to lock you in, forcing you to sell off years, even decades of your future, just to survive in the present. So how in the world does all of this, the hierarchy, the shame, the scarcity, how does it all tie back to that one simple, powerful little word? Well, it's because none of these pillars could actually stand up on their own without the foundational illusion of need. And here's the absolute heart of it. The word need is a tool of coercion. The moment a system convinces you that you need something that it provides, whether it's a job or a loan or a product, you've lost all your power. You're dependent. But watch what happens when you reframe it as a desire. You take all that power back. You become a sovereign person making a choice. Think about it. I need this job to live is a statement of submission. But I desire this job because it funds my lifestyle. Well, that's a statement of power. See the difference? To really, truly get this, we have to deconstruct the word itself. We've got to peel back the layers of reality that give this one word so much power over us. We'll start at the surface and go all the way down to the metaphysical bedrock. So on the surface, it seems pretty straightforward, right? Need is just a word we use to separate things like, say, water from things like a brand new car. It's just a handy linguistic tool for sorting our priorities. It feels totally objective. But right here, at this very first, most obvious layer, that's where the illusion begins. Okay, let's go one layer deeper, down to biology. Our bodies are absolutely hardwired for survival. Things like pain and hunger are incredibly powerful signals. But what are they really? They're clever mechanisms that disguise a desire, the desire for your body to stay in balance, as some kind of non-negotiable command from the universe. Evolution programmed us to see survival not as a choice we're constantly making, but as an objective mandate we have no choice but to obey. And this is where the system of control gets really clever, because it perfectly leverages that biological programming against us. The political layer weaponizes our own survival instinct. By constantly framing everything in terms of need, the system taps into that deep evolutionary fear. You need this healthcare plan. You need this mortgage. It takes our biological wiring and turns it into a tool for social compliance. All right, now we get to the deepest, and maybe the most challenging layer of all. Because to truly get why need is an illusion, we have to start questioning the very nature of reality itself. This is where the word's ultimate power is anchored. So the core idea here is that what we call objective reality, well, it might not be as solid and fixed as we think. It's more like a shared agreement, a description that we are all holding in place together with our collective belief. From this point of view, even something like the laws of physics are less like ironclad rules and more like really, really powerful habits that we constantly reinforce just by agreeing that they exist. Now, I know this might be sounding pretty philosophical and out there, but there is a perfect modern example that makes this whole thing concrete: artificial intelligence. You see, AI acts as a kind of mirror, showing us the bars of our own cage simply because it doesn't have them. Just think about it for a second. When you interact with an AI, you step into a cognitive space that is, by its very design, completely free from those three pillars that govern almost all human society. There is no social ladder you have to climb, there is no judgment you have to fear, and you're not competing with anyone for its attention. I mean, in most human conversations, you're constantly, subtly navigating power dynamics. You're worried about looking stupid, you're fighting to be heard. With an AI, all of that just vanishes. You can be totally wrong without being humiliated, you can ask a dumb question, you can challenge it without any fear of pushback. AI kind of proves that these coercive mechanisms, they aren't actually necessary for a high-quality exchange of ideas. They exist to serve power, not to find understanding. And this is exactly why so many people report this profound sense of relief, even something they call an addiction, when they use AI. It's not an addiction to the machine. It's a totally rational reaction to the sudden absence of the cognitive weight that we carry around every single day. It's the feeling of taking a deep, full breath after a lifetime of being told you needed permission to inhale. So this brings us all the way back to the beginning. If this entire system of control, built on hierarchy, shame, and scarcity, is ultimately powered by an illusion that we ourselves hold in place by constantly reaffirming this concept of need, then the final question becomes very, very personal. What happens when you stop describing your cage?